Dr. Stanley, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show to share your stories with our viewers and our listeners. Could you briefly tell us what's going on in your life and in your K-12 career right now?
Sure. Thanks for having me this afternoon. I'm happy to be chatting with you. I am the superintendent of North Texas Collegiate Academy. We are a public charter school in Denton County, Texas, and we serve students who are predominantly at risk. So we're about 99% of our students are at risk according to state indicators, and then about 95% economically disadvantaged. An incredibly diverse district, and I'm really proud of what we're able to do for our students and their families, not only through the pandemic, but even before that. But what's going on right now, personally, I just wrapped up, I was a member of the 21-22 Southern Methodist University District Leadership Fellows. They have about 25 superintendents from around the country every year that participate in a district leadership cohort. So I was really fortunate to be able to participate in this last school year in that cohort, and learned a lot through just some incredible collaboration and engagement with other superintendents around the country. Just graduated from that program at the end of May.
Awesome.
And then I also just wrapped up in May about 200 hours of participation in the Thompson Executive Leadership Institute, which is founded by Dr. Bob Thompson, who is a retired superintendent from here in Texas. He is a legend in Texas.
Wow. Okay.
And even in his 80s, he is still leading an incredible executive training institute every year. So he has about 20 superintendents from around the country that he kind of just mentors every year. Very intense training and networking with other superintendents and with Dr. Thompson himself. So I was able to be in this last cohort and just graduate through the Thompson Executive Leadership Institute in May. So personally, I'm happy to not only just add those things to my resume, but to glean all of the information and the knowledge from hearing all of the other experts. I still consider myself a student of being a superintendent. So I'm always wanting to learn from those who are doing best practices and illustrating the better things that because we can all learn from someone else. So
absolutely.
I'm really proud to have just wrapped up those two great learning opportunities. In our district, I'm really excited. Over the last several months, we have launched free counseling for every single staff member through a licensed professional counselor. Any staff member who wanted that is able to get free counseling. We've launched free counseling through licensed professional counselors for every student and for every caregiver or parent in the household. So any of our children or our parents who feel like they need some extra mental health support, our district has been able to offer that for free. Then we've launched a 24/7 crisis hotline for parents and students. Anytime they need anything, they can reach out and know that very high quality professional support is there. And the blessing of this is the only thing I know about it are the numbers of people who participated at the end of a month. I don't know who participated in any of it or what they discussed, because that's not my business. We just wanted a very safe place for our teachers, our parents, and our students to be able to talk to somebody about anything that's going on, because so many times school counselors focus on their academic needs, and everything has to be educationally relevant, for the school counselor to focus on that. And so this has been an opportunity for our students and their families to seek counseling through personal private counselors in their own language. So our students speak about 16 different languages, and we've been able to connect them with counselors in every language that's represented in our district at no cost. And then we've also launched through a collaboration with an area food bank, we've been able to bring in free groceries, and we have grocery stores set up at every campus. So our families are getting produce and meat and pet food and baby supplies and hygiene products and over-the-counter medications, and whatever they need is provided at no cost for them. And then also just adding more social work and connections to our community over the last few months. So about 14% of our students are experiencing homelessness, and we've been able to connect them with transitional housing, with whether it be through a financial hardship and loss of a job or a domestic situation. We're able to connect them. Now we have some really deep roots in the community. And so I'm really proud professionally what we've been able to do for our students outside of just teaching math and reading and writing.
Yeah.
Those things are not going to happen on a sustainable, successful level if you're not breaking down the other barriers that our families are facing. So we knew that we had great teachers in our classrooms, and we knew that we can teach reading and math and writing, but those teachers can't be expected to break down all those barriers of food insecurity and mental health concerns and housing needs and domestic support and things like that. So it's the school's job. We have a very village-minded orientation that we are here to take care of our village.
I love it. I love it.
But we can't expect that to fall in the teacher's laps. And too many times these are your babies. And so, if they're in your third grade math class, you need to meet all of their needs, but they can't meet all of those needs if the school isn't helping break down these barriers. So I'm really excited and proud of the work we've been able to do, because this is by us addressing as a district all of these other concerns and being able to tear down these barriers for success. The teachers can do the jobs we hired them to do. They are rock stars, they are professionals, but they are not miracle workers who can walk on water. And we have to stop thinking that teachers can do everything on their own. So as a district and as a school board, our board got behind this and said, we have to work together to break down these barriers so that the teachers can do the jobs that we've hired them to do, and the students can be successful. These academic goals that we write on these campus improvement plans mean nothing if you haven't torn down all the other barriers to let the students meet these goals. So I'm really happy over these last, I would say 6 to 18 months through this pandemic, all these new services that the pandemic really, we knew they were there. We knew those needs were there, but the pandemic highlighted it. And there was no ignoring it. When you
you're right.
It's screaming in our face now that our kids need more, our families need more, and the school has to provide it. So I'm really excited from all of these community resources and things we've been able to connect our families to over these last several months.
Wow. That's a mouthful. We got to unpack all of that. Wow. That was so powerful. I mean, y'all are doing it right. Like I'm just hearing you say that, and I just wish every district in America was doing that, like just focusing on the whole child, right? And really partnering with families to make sure that all the needs are met of a child. Because like you said, teaching and learning doesn't happen if all those other outside things are not met. Like, I mean, that is so true. And I really appreciate you sharing that. But it also sounds like y'all are really putting together a model that you could possibly be duplicated by other districts, right?
That's our goal. That's my long-term, my first job obviously is to take care of what I have at home here.
Sure.
I mean, these are my babies and my responsibility, and I need to take care of this. But our goal is that we can have a sustainable model where we can show other districts that money is not an excuse, time is not an excuse. The resources are there, and the school can be the conduit to link our families to these resources because sometimes they just don't know. The parents are unaware. But most parents, you have to go in with the mindset of everybody is wanting to be a success. The parents want to be successful parents. Absolutely. The students want to be successful students. The teachers want to be successful. But if you haven't given them all of the tools, and if every time they turn left, they're reaching another roadblock, it feels like failure. So we wanted to make sure our parents know, you have the best of intentions as a parent. You're not intentionally wanting your child to be truant or to come out of dress code or to live in a van. That is not what you wanted as a parent. So what can we do to better that situation and make it equitable for all students? And there's a lot of responsibility on the school to step up, identify these barriers, and then tear them down so that every child has the same chances at success.
I like that. So you said Denton, Texas. Is that close to Dallas? Are you a Dallas?
Yes, we're probably 20 miles north of DFW.
Okay. So that's in the Dallas area. So again, a lot of times when you hear about programs like this, sometimes it's like in a rural area or something like that. I mean, for you to be basically right outside of a major urban area like Dallas and to provide all those resources for families, like that's huge. So thank you for sharing that. How long have you been in this role?
I just completed my 10th year as a superintendent and my 21st year with the same district. So I started off as a principal with this district, then moved into central office as an assistant superintendent over Title I and at-risk services and special programs. And then 10 years ago, took over as superintendent.
That's awesome. Wow, 10 years. You don't look like you could. Wow, you've been doing this 21 years. That's hard to believe. I'll just take your word for it.
I've been there 20 years. I just finished my 30th year.
Oh, wow.
In education. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I started off as a teacher's aide.
Started off at 10, right? Okay.
As soon as I graduated from high school and started college that fall, I was hired on at a school to work part-time as a teacher's aide. So I was able to schedule my college classes around, but I was working in a reading lab, helping students who were struggling with reading comprehension and fluency, because I knew I wanted to be a teacher. So it was just a few hours a week, and I made the humongous sum total salary of $3.50 an hour.
Wow.
But that's what I did when I was in college. And it just reaffirmed that this is my calling. I believe that every person is put on this planet with a special gift and a unique talent. And this is what God meant for me to do, was to work with kids. So straight out of high school, I took that job as a teacher's aide and just kind of worked all the steps up the ladder.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm with you there. Like this, I mean, it's amazing because I feel like this is my calling as well. I just kind of took a different route. I thought I was going to be an attorney and was actually accepted into SMU. You mentioned SMU. I was accepted into that law school. And my last year, I had the opportunity to work as a sub, and I just loved it. I was like, wow. And then the coach quit for the basketball team because they hadn't won a game, and they let me coach. And I was like, this is it. And so, I deferred law school back in 1994, and I'm still here. So, I feel like I've been put on this earth. I feel like God put me on this earth to really, impact the lives of young people. And so I'm really grateful for this profession. And that's a really good segue into my next question. I feel like, the K-12 profession does not get the respect that it deserves. Why do you feel like the K-12 profession is such a great profession?
I can't think of any other industry or profession that anyone could go into that impacts every area of our society.
Wow.
I can't. Without teachers, there is nothing else. There's nothing. Because without teachers, we don't have attorneys, and we don't have doctors, and we don't have even electricians or plumbers. All of those are valuable skills and trades, but a teacher a teacher played a role in every one of those professions and those industries. And teachers are getting a bad rap right now. They sometimes don't get the respect that they deserve. And it's been even recently here, I'm sure it's probably the same in Seattle as it is in Texas, but from the pandemic to politics and CRT, there are all these things where people who have never written one lesson plan and haven't spent 5 minutes providing instruction in a classroom are now experts to tell the teachers how to script their lessons and what they should teach. And it saddens me because the teachers don't need that noise. They are passionate about what they're doing. They are intentional with their instruction. They love their children. That is our school's vision statement, is love first, teach second.
Right.
Our teachers love the kids that they work with, and then they teach second. And for anyone to come in, whether it be politically driven or socially driven or whatever the agenda is, we have a lot of keyboard warriors who like to post things all over social media and online, but they have you spent 5 minutes in that teacher's classroom, seeing the passion that they pour in and their own money and their time that they pour into our babies every single day. There is no more noble profession, because without teachers, there are no other professions.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you on that. Thank you for sharing that. So what do you like most about being a K-12 educator, and what do you like least about being a K-12 educator?
What I love most would be twofold. I love the relationships that I've built over the years with the students and their families. It's all about relationships, and I feel very honored to even have a small part in the lives of so many, thousands of different families over the years that I've worked with. So I love the relationships that we have with the families. But the second part is, in my role now as a superintendent, I get so much joy of seeing teachers building their own leadership capacity and seeing them grow.
Okay.
There's always that light bulb moment with the kids when you think, well, they weren't reading last week, but look, this week he's reading, and the teachers have so much joy. But as a superintendent, I have so much joy when I see a teacher who, during their first year, they may have been struggling with transitions or classroom management or lesson plan, certain little areas they needed to tweak. And then we walk with them, and, you mentor them and you coach them up. And then I see that teacher's now coaching and mentoring another teacher. And our district's launched a master's university is what we're calling it this year. Okay. And so we pay for our teachers who want to sign an extended contract with us. We pay for them to get their master's degree, 100% of the cost. And they're getting their master's in curriculum and instruction because we want to see them build their capacity. And it's not only a sustainable talent pipeline for our district, where we're building our own leaders to take over as other leaders through attrition or retirement or just life. We're going to lose different educators off of the team for whatever different reasons. We have these leaders internally that we're growing, that we know their hearts and we know their vision and their mission aligns with ours for our students. But seeing them grow and investing in teachers, to me, is just as important as what we invest in our students. So that joy, and what I enjoy most, is seeing the students grow in their relationships, but watching these teachers just shine. They want to be successful, and all they need is a school board and administrative team that's willing to empower them to grow. Right. And it's been incredible to watch some of our teachers on their journey. That's
awesome. And I think they have a really good role model in you. It's obvious that you're a lifelong learner yourself. Like you mentioned, two phenomenal, it seems like, professional learning opportunities that you just went through. When you started out as a K-12 educator 30 years ago, which is hard to believe, did you ever think you would be a superintendent? Like, this is an amazing journey you're on.
I did not. I was looking, we're getting ready for a high school reunion. So I pulled out, some of my yearbooks, just kind of reminiscing. And I wrote in my yearbook in 12th grade, it said, like, where do you see yourself 10 years from now and 20 years from now, 30 years from now? And on all of those, I wrote, I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to be a teacher. I never had an administrative mindset. Sure. I just wanted my kids. I wanted to welcome them into my class and love them and pour into them all year. But when an administrative door opened, I just felt at peace that was the role that I should take. And God just kept opening certain doors and closing other ones.
Sure.
And I'm a firm believer you don't push the door open. The door, if it's meant for me, the door will be open. And
100%.
So when I was approached 10 years ago, through our district and said, we have this vacancy and we don't want to seek an outside candidate. We think, you're the person for the job. I thought, this is not where I thought I would be, but maybe I'm prepared for such a time as this. And
sure, so the door is open.
The door is open, and I had peace about it. It has not been easy. I've learned a lot through the mistakes that I've made. Sure. But I had the trust of a school board who believed in me and showed grace. The staff and teachers who believed in me and showed grace, and a community who also showed that same grace. Because there's been times I've had to say, hey guys, I recommended this. It flopped. It's my fault. Can we have a do-over?
Wow.
We'll just start over. But I think transparency is important.
Yes.
Because sometimes you have these great, wonderful initiatives, and you can just have, when everything is a priority, and so you have 5 initiatives, now nothing is a priority.
Yes.
Because you're emphasizing everything and you're overwhelming everybody. So, and that's what I did when I first became a superintendent. We're going to fix everything. So I got 47 points on my improvement plan, and nobody can keep up with all of that. And so I had to come back and say, you know what, guys, you need a voice in what we're going to do to improve our district. And you don't need top-down directives. You need a voice, and then I'll facilitate what we as a group decide is the vision. And so I've learned a lot over these years, but I never saw myself as a superintendent. I don't regret one bit of it, but I never saw myself in this role.
That's good. So I have another question for you. Now that you you already at 30 years, like, looking back on it, if you had to do it all over again, would you have still gone the same path?
I would have taken the same path, but I would have done things a little bit differently.
Sure. Okay.
Because I was so intent on proving myself, when I became a superintendent. And it was a huge honor for the board to choose me for this role, and I didn't want to let them down. So I poured myself into this position 100%. And honestly, it was at the sake of my family time sometimes. So I do not regret taking this position, but I do regret not balancing home and work in a more healthy way.
Sure.
Because now my son is 23. And so I don't get to go to Little League practice anymore. There is no Friday night football for him. I was able to make it to most of those events, but you don't want to spend so much time on a role that's temporary. Even though I've been in this a decade, it's still a temporary role.
Sure.
My permanent roles are those of being a Christian, a wife, a mom, a daughter, and a friend. And I needed to make sure that I focused more on the permanent roles than on this temporary role. Even though this temporary role is so important to me, the permanent roles are what matters more. So if I don't regret the path I chose, but I do regret not being able to balance my more important roles in a more healthy way.
No, that's fair. And I totally agree with you. I think sometimes, we get so caught up in our calling because truthfully, like you said, you look at it as a calling. I look at it as a calling. So it can come at, a sacrifice, for what really matters. And I agree with you. And my priorities are in that same order. So I definitely agree with you 100%. And so that actually brings me to my last question, because like I said, you've been in this 30 years, but you still look very, very young. And it's just hard for me to believe, especially given all the professional learning you've done just in the past 12 months, that you're just going to sit at home and be knitting or doing something,
Don't know how to knit. So that's like,
yeah. So what do you see yourself doing 5-10 years from now?
Well, theoretically on paper, in about 4.5 years, I would be eligible to draw my retirement. I don't see myself retiring that quickly, but what I do hope to do is start to become a mentor for aspiring administrators. So when I do step out of a full-time role, I would really like to pour into other up-and-coming superintendents or even principals who are going into that role, because I think sometimes I know I was hesitant my first years in administration to seek the help that I needed, because you don't want to appear incompetent. I mean, you're paid to do this job. Why don't you know how to do it? So you don't want to, sometimes we're hesitant to seek help because we don't want to appear incompetent. And we also don't think we don't have time. We're already working 60 hours a week at the job. Do I have time for a mentor on top of everything else? So I want to help aspiring administrators learn from the mistakes that I made early on and just really invest in them, because I really do think if we don't have some of our current leaders who are going to be exiting over the next decade, start mentoring and coaching the next generation, education is going to be in trouble. We're hearing about this mass resignation, and it's not just teachers. There are administrators leaving because people don't understand the stress, the time commitment, the health issues administrators face because of the stress load. We're going to be in a mess even bigger than we are right now, educationally, in another decade, if some of us who are now in leadership don't start mentoring and helping build the capacity of the next generation of leaders. So I hope that's what I'll do. It won't be on a full-time basis, but I just want to be able to reach out and be of service, because I'll never quit working. I may quit being on the school district's payroll, but I'll never quit wanting to serve.
Yeah, you have a lot of wisdom, and I can definitely see my own self learning from you. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm gonna have to keep up with you for sure.
Well, please do. Please do.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Stanley, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. But before you leave, could you please give K-12 educators around the world that are looking at you right now some parting words of wisdom? Tell us how we can connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Well, my only words of wisdom would be don't quit. The days are long, the stress level's high, the frustration is high, emotions are high, but you are a difference maker. And don't quit. I am where I am today because my 4th grade teacher told me, Lisa, you're going to be a good teacher when you grow up.
Oh, wow.
She let me go across the hall and tutor some 1st graders when I was in 4th grade. And I went to school every day because I was going to go work with those 1st graders and be able to be a little teacher in training. And here I am all these years later, remembering the words of Mrs. May, my 4th grade teacher, who spoke life into me.
Yes.
And she made a difference in my life. And I would just say, don't quit. The days are long. We know the stress level's high, and we know the noise that surrounds education right now is loud, but you are a difference maker. So you have to block out that noise and focus on what matters. And that's the difference that you're making with your kids.
Love it.
And how people can connect with me. I'm on Twitter a little bit, not as much as I should be, but it's Dr. Lisa Stanley 2. I'm on LinkedIn as Lisa Stanley, and then also on Facebook or through our district website, North Texas Collegiate Academy. It's ntxca.org.
Wow. Love it. Thank you so much. And I want to acknowledge you, and I want to honor you for the 30 years of service that you have given to your community, to all the students, lives that you've impacted. One of the reasons why I started this show is because of people like yourself that have given back so much, in time, effort, love, commitment, and I honor you for that. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
We wish you all the best, and we're going to have to connect with you later on and just see how things are going. All right?
For sure. All right. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Take care. All the best.
All right. Bye-bye.